Okay, let's take a step back and look at the big picture. I'm talking about Malware Inc. Our next speaker, Pavan Karthick M, is a threat researcher who tracks these global cybercrime economies. His talk dissects how malware actually works as a business, from delivery to payout. He's going to show us the OSINT techniques he uses to map out these criminal ecosystems. Want to learn how to think like a global threat hunter? This is the talk for you. Please welcome Pavan Karthik M.
Good morning. Hope I'm audible all the way to the back, because it doesn't feel like I'm audible to the back for me, but that's cool. Yeah, before I start, I'm going to start with my background in terms of my interaction with computers, actually. Like, I come from India, where what they teach in our schools is not programming, or I'm not sure what they teach everywhere in the world too, but in India, they teach us basically PowerPoint and MS Word, all these things till your 10th grade. And until then, like, it was basically using them. And even after that, there was a 2-year disconnect, because most of the Indians, or basically I'll say, they take science as a background, and mostly you'll see engineers from India. And basically there are two sides of it, like it's either maths, or like it can be like biology. So it's either engineers or it's either a doctor. So these are major career paths in India. And during we have a 2-year period just after the high school, like we call it pre-university college. So that's the 2 years, like, completely disconnected from the internet, no interaction with devices. But then, like, again, I still have some of my interactions with this. So this is my first game which I played, Grand Theft Auto. And I mean, yeah, it's a good game to play, but if you think of like getting these games to work on your systems, like, I grew up in a time of like piracy, I'll say. Like, most of the Indians, they don't buy games, or I'd say, I'm generalizing it, but yeah, there's a lot of people who actually pirate games, and I could say I was one of it. And my assumption of, like, when I saw some Hollywood movies, that even kids at this age, like, they get to interact a lot with devices. And this is a movie like War Games. Then I've realized, like, the interaction in 90s, or like whoever I've spoken with, like all the OG hackers at this time, they have come from a point where the languages, like the programming languages, are like COBOL, the oldest ones, and then you guys came in from the scratch, and then now you can understand all the assembly. A lot of speakers are also like talking about reversing, fuzzing, and these deep dive into, I'll say, core concepts of computers. But for me, I'd say I'm still at the software level. And yeah, that intrigues me. And this is how I assume the knowledge gap is also there, in terms of, for the new person, like coming from my educational background, to understand reverse engineering, that's like, should be fundamental, but it's not. But yeah, coming back to what we are talking about, which is Malware Inc., which is how delivery networks sustain the global cybercrime economy. Now, if I say malwares, like, what is the first thing which comes into your mind? Any points from the audience? Evil. Okay. Then anything else? Ransomware. Right. So yeah, most probably we'll find advanced malwares, like, because that hit us the hardest, right? But if you think of how even a ransomware gets in, there's a lot more happening in the back end. And most probably, I'll be covering mostly about info stealers. So info stealers are a strain of malware which focus on only stealing your information. They're not persistent, but they just grab your information and then they delete themselves. So this is one strain which we are going to be talking about. And some of the impacts which are actually caused by info stealers are like as follows. In 2024, like Snowflake, a big data company, got compromised, and that actually hit like Ticketmaster, Santander, then LASD, etc. Now, if you think of how this attack happened, it's again endpoint infection, which is basically the infostealer infection, which went as an infostealer log, then sold as Combolus. Now, because there is no MFA on Snowflake's local logins, they were able to log in into SQL and like basically SQL admin portal, and then like they were able to just exfiltrate the data for approximately 165 customers. So that means if you see here, there's no major hack. It's just a malware compromising the system, and then they just run a SQL dump command, and then they get the whole data. So that was a case from like Snowflake. It's the threat actor is UNC 5537. I'm not sure of the real name of the threat actor, but this is something which is used by some of the threat intel companies to track that specific group. Then the second one was Power School 2024. So this was like a massive breach in the US, I believe. And because of a login compromise, nearly 60 to 70 million student and teacher records have been exfiltrated. And then like there was a lot of like, comparing with India, I'd say if a data breach happens anywhere across where the data protection laws are there, it would be really critical because there's a lot of lawsuits, there's a lot of fines, and then like, yeah, as you can see, there was also criminal prosecution on this. Now, how this happened was basically an engineer's laptop was compromised using a infostealer called Luma. Now, that actually exfiltrated internal credentials, which led to backend access. And then they were, again, it's not hacking, rather exfiltrating the 70 million records because they already had the database access. Now, again, like once the database access is there, they were able to actually encrypt the data and then like do the ransom. There might be additional exploits which they might have used to encrypt it, but again, the initial access comes from a login, not from a actual exploit or a CV. Then I'll just cover two more, which is like Cisco in 2022, though it's not sensitive data which was taken, but still a personal device of an employee got compromised. Then it stole malware from a personal device of that employee. But because of so Chrome has a login sync across your devices. So if you have a mobile phone, your mobile login credentials are synced to your laptop or wherever you use that Chrome account. So because of that Chrome sync, the corporate VPN credentials have been compromised. I'm not sure how they allowed a corporate VPN credential to be working on a private system, because at least for what I see in my actual systems is like, based on your device's fingerprint and specific host name of your device, you cannot use a VPN software itself. But again, all of these are spoofable. Maybe that's why they got internal access. But again, it's from a personal device. The reason of personal device getting compromised is also funny, which I'll cover later on in the presentation. But yeah, and that was one of it where and one more technique was basically, even though corporate VPN credentials was there, they had MFA. And then to bypass MFA, there are more techniques. And one of it was like MFA fatigue, and which led to internal access. So once in the network, then the actual ransomware attack happens, which most of the presentations actually cover about like how they actually do recon, how the whole attack chain happens just after the initial access. Then the next one is basically 23andMe. So this is also, most of these things which I'm actually covering is like major incidents which happened. There are a lot more which we have seen internally, which are not hacks, but most of the incidents which come up on dark web and like gain a lot of PR attention are just infostealer logins. And 23andMe is basically one of the, handled a lot of DNA related and PII. So though it was not directly related to infostealers, it actually originated from the upstream of infostealers, which get resold as credential dumps, which are used by the threat actors to actually do credential stuffing and get a lot of PII data from that organization. So, as I was telling, info stealers are fuel for the whole cybercrime economy, and delivery networks basically, if you think of how the info stealers also spread, it's not by spear phishing, it's basically carpet bombing everyone. Like, they don't target specific people. They just put it out on the internet, whoever like is susceptible or gullible enough to click on or like the growth engine is in a way that like their targeted customers are also like people who are general public, not like specific people. Then also this one quote I want to say: hackers don't hack, they log in. Not for most of like out of 100% of hackers, maybe like 90% of them like just log in, they don't hack. Because if you think of it, like most of it are script kiddies too, right? Like just out of the college, they just search in YouTube, so how to hack, and then they'll find some videos explaining about hacking. I mean, most of them, they would not learn anything from that, but once they deep dive into like dark web forums, then they'll actually understand that there's a lot of data available out there, and then they learn starting to use that data, and then that's how this happens. But yeah, this is kind of a unconventional talk. Not saying that all the other hackers are like lame, but they still do a lot of stuff, and those actually are more impactful. But the whole time waste where SOC analysts do or mostly come from these 90% of people who create a lot of noise. Again, as I was saying, I'm not talking about any 0 days. It's not like Hollywood level hacks. But yeah, focus is on info stealers, which is kind of, I mean, even if I say, like, I've titled my talk as Malware Inc. because if you think of it, the info stealers are actually delivered by something called loaders. So these loaders don't just deliver info stealers, but they deliver everything else. Like they also deliver ransomware based on like what system they're actually executing in. But most probably in this talk, we'll be only covering info stealers. So, and also it covers about why defenders must follow economics of the malware ecosystem, not just IOCs. So this is how the cybercrime supply chain looks. There are malware developers, then there are delivery syndicates. So malware developers can be anywhere in the world. They just write the malware and then they keep adding new features. This is also like a software development company, but like malicious. And then delivery syndicates, these are basically the people who sell softwares. PPI is a term which I thought was related to malwares, but actually, PPI was a major term used across because it is used in affiliate marketing where they are supposed to sell softwares on based on the like installs you get paid. That was the general term. But the same thing goes for malwares. And these delivery syndicates actually deliver malware and then like they get paid for it. And from the delivery syndicates, like they compromise people and then they collect all these malware logs. Those are sold or basically they get like in the next photo, you'll see that. So all these data is actually stored in a barrel, and that is resold by IABs, which is initial access brokers. So any ransomware attack or any other attack starts from initial access, and there are actually brokers in the dark web who sell that. So that's the third part of it. And then the IABs are actually consumed by fraud and ransomware crews, and finally cash out happens. So if you think of it, like there's a lot of money happening, like money flow happening between these two people itself, but the fraud and ransomware like get a bigger cut of it because the scale of attacks they do is also bigger. Now, yeah, as I told, it's ad tech with malware, where targeting happens. They have funnels, conversion rates, and revenue optimizations. So even in malwares, they have like clicks where a lot of people click on something. Like if you ask someone to do something, the first thing they do is like search in the internet, right? And they optimize their whole malware ecosystem in such a way that the first thing you click could be a malware. And that's why the clicks is first there, and then there is installs. Basically, some people might install, but maybe your EDR or your antivirus might kick in and actually stop it. But yeah, if that also like doesn't stop it, then there is logs, which is this one. Yeah, so this is like the crude oil for the whole cybercrime economy. Then it is refined into like multiple things, like they sell specific credentials for services, cookies, so they can use it for like session hijacking, and then system profiles. So system profiles give you entire information of what your IP address is, what your system name is, which can actually be used to spoof who you are, and then like do more complex level of session hijacking. And then install security tools too. So if they're selling it as a initial access, the security tools will actually give more information to the next ransomware gang or like basically fraud groups to see what kind of anti-detection methods they need to use. And then finally, they have it ready in a searchable, sortable, API ready, and all this information can be consumed from there. So that's the most scary part of it, because searchable in the sense like put all your like millions of logs in a searchable database, they just give a domain name and then they get credentials for it. That's how it happens. Not for the most of them, but there are services also run by threat actors which actually give this searchable ready API. So this is how a sample log looks like. I'll try to zoom in maybe, yeah. So I think I'm able to see yeah, so these are like the download files also, and they have files too exfiltrated, like text files or document files. So if you save your passwords in a text file, that is also very dangerous. And history too, so they know, like let's say when a recon happens in any cyber attack, history of what URLs are visiting. That is a really important thing, because even if you give them access to a specific domain, they might do directory brute force, but getting access to your history gets most of the information about what their target is. And yeah, there are passwords, cookies, downloads, files exfiltrated, browser history, victim information, and specific information like data exfiltrated from softwares. So they also exfiltrate like Discord, and I think Telegram data is also there. So they use it for, like this is a part of ecosystem where they use Discord and Telegram to actually scam people later on. Because once their Discord and Telegram sessions are hijacked, they use the victim accounts to actually spread more. So that's for this slide. And this is how a panel looks like, where they're able to see a list of users who got compromised, and then they're able to filter it down on like what's the location they want, like what's the domain they want to search for. So this is one of the Infostiller panels. If you look at the bottom, it's like red line. That's one of a Steeler family like panel. Then this is one of the marketplace where they sell one log for $10, and then like if you think of the volume of the logs, it's like in millions of logs are available out there. And one more place where these logs are like surface on the top is basically Telegram channels. There are a lot of Telegram channels run by the groups itself, as well as like there are resellers, or basically they keep resharing the same thing, and then this is one of it. Now, talking about the supply at scale, right? I was telling that all these dark web forums, they keep promoting themselves, and one of the major or easy way to get attention or get reputation in the dark web forums is basically by reposting these logs. So if you see in the screenshot, like hopefully it is visible there. So the first thing itself talks about 409 million lines, or 409 million lines of user credentials leaked. So this is in one of the dark web forums, like the forum post is from 11 November. So this can be a repost too, so they keep resharing the same data again and again. So this is one of the way like those to just show the supply at scale. Now, the kill chain, like the lure is basically SEO poisoning, search engine optimization, and then like they do black hat SEO to come up on top of the search results. Then there is YouTube cracks, like basically they target wares, like piracy software and wares, where they use anything which can come on the search engine. YouTube was at a certain point of time was being used, but then again it was like now I think they have implemented some mitigation methodologies. Then there is payloads, which is basically either a loader or dropper, most probably deploying an info stealer because it's most silent and then like not noisy. But if you're they tend to actually ask users to disable their antivirus. So most of the users who are looking for a pirated software, they do turn off their antiviruses, and that's when they get hacked. Then InfoStealer gets run, and then the logs get aggregated, and then panels, telegrams, and then finally the abuse happens where business email compromise, IAB listings, ransomware, crypto theft, everything, all of these happens in the kill chain. Now this is one way where, this is one way where how malicious domains are used. So they just buy cheap domains and then they put it behind Cloudflare, so the original IP of it doesn't get leaked. Then they have multiple redirections in between. So these redirections are done so that whenever a search engine crawls through a website, that same chain leading to the malware archive is not linked. And then when they actually attach that malware archive, it is actually password encrypted. So when you give it, when they actually crawl and then try to see if a file is malicious or not, this malware archive will actually be shown as non-malicious because it is encrypted, and once it is encrypted, you can't actually decrypt it without a password. So that's one technique which they use to basically hide their whole infection chain. Now, delivery networks, talking about delivery networks, they sell it as installs as a service. Now, these are semi-organized and called as install factories. We call it as install factories. All the use, or basically, as I've told, malvertising, fake cracks, all these they do. And they further offer geo-targeting. They sell traffic for specific regions of the world, and then they target specific regions and also target specific operating systems. So InfoStealers are not just for Windows. They target every operating system these days, basically Linux, Mac OS, and Windows 2. Then clients of these delivery networks are basically the InfoStealer operations, rats, ransomware, all these people. But again, delivery networks deliver everything, and they deliver it from a loader. Now, generally, all the research associated with these delivery networks come from a group called Traffers. So this is a Russian word called, I'm not sure how I can spell that, but who generates and monetizes non-legitimate web traffic. Now, their job is malicious lead generation. They redirect users to malicious content, and basically it has a lowest level of acceptance, or not lowest, actually highest level of acceptance. Anyone in the internet who has access to that forum, they have clear instructions on how to set up and then how to start these operations or how to become a traffer. So that's how it happens. And most of the focus is on distributing these InfoStealers. And this is a major gateway for the newcomers, as I was telling, into cybercrime. Now, let me just go to a case study. As I was telling my background, I had no pocket money, so in my college I used to actually needed some of the games, or I used to play games, and then for assignments we needed to edit some PDFs. So that's when we needed Adobe, and Adobe is basically costly. So that time I used to randomly search for these wares, and then every single link I used to click on it, not realizing what was happening. And after installing a lot of them, recently, once I'm in cybersecurity, I realized this. So Google has this Google One dark web monitoring, and in that, my email came up on a 2021 password stealer. So me, myself, I was compromised, but yeah, I changed all my passwords. So though I'm a no one at that time, so no one actually targeted me. So most of the others might not really be there. It might be even worse for them. So that started the whole thing, and basically I turned this embarrassment into methodology because I know what I was doing and I know how I got compromised. The same thing I've done for a year at a couple of points, and I started investigating. Once I search for something, how do I go from a specific search result to a malware? And then I focused on top ranked black hat SEO sites, and basically I found common ecosystems pushing all these: Vidar, Redline, Raccoon, Luma, and Meta. All these are malware families. And basically they started spamming forums. So forum spam, you might have heard of it. If you are running a blog, you might have noticed it too. All the links which come on your forums might be an info stealer, or it might be a scam, or like it might be a fraud. But the major thing which I noticed when I searched for pirated software or wares is like forum spam. And in one forum spam, like we saw of partially exposed email, and there was one link, download now, with specific where's domain too. I think there is, yeah, so there was a domain and a Google document link, which led us to the further investigation. But before that, does anyone know from a Google document link how you can track someone? Like why Google document links also should be treated as private information? Because from the Google document link, there's a tool, OSINT tool called ZulaDoc, which actually gives your email address. So this is how the investigation happened. We started with the forum, Black Hat SEO forum, which is an actual legitimate forum, but then was abused to actually spread, and which had access to the where's domain, and it also had access to a Google document link. Using an OSINT tool, like we actually found the email of the threat actor, and then there was this where's domain, which we correlated with breach data. So at my organization, we actually have a data set for this. So we can actually look up and like give proactive intelligence to people. In the same time, like we actually searched for this where's domain, and then like we found that the same email was associated with the admin access for the specific site. Now, this gave identity of a threat actor X. So this is how easy it was. Like if even when I'm explaining, it was like pretty simple, right? So this is how easy it was to get the identity of the initial threat actor. Like that was his email basically. And the funny thing here is when I told correlation with the breach data, the threat actor himself was compromised with his own malware. So we had his whole log, which gave all the information, which his passwords, his history, his like autofills, his cookies, everything. But us as investigators, we gave him enough privacy, so that's why I'm not giving out any of those breadcrumbs here. But either ways, it's all out there in the internet. If you are really interested, you can actually look out for the research and then like get onto the whole end chain, because no one can like stop information on the internet from being discovered, because it's already out there. You can't delete it completely. So this is a snippet of it where breach data revealed the admin credentials, breach data revealed the email address, but still we are obfuscating it for giving the privacy to them. But yeah, they are threat actors. So, and yeah, so the most interesting thing was later on, like we continuously, from the initial log which we got, right? So we started with domain reviews of what all passwords he had access to. And basically we had service abuse, which is basically abusing forums on the internet, and SEO tools credentials. So they also use SEO tools, which is used by affiliate marketing people too. And there was one website, like we actually had some classification. So anything apart from these two, we put them in a different bucket. And then we manually looked for something interesting. And then we stumbled upon two specific websites. One is paxmedia.com and installbank.com. So these two are basically PPI networks. So these are like your panels where I'll just show the screenshots of it, but these two are the major sites. Sadly, paxmedia.com was inactive, so we couldn't do any of the validation. But installbank.com was active, but credentials, none of the credentials which the threat actor had were working. So that's till now, and after that, there's a bigger investigation, but is it visible properly, or can I zoom in? Yeah, I hope it's visible now. So we found the stealogs which contained the Spax Media and installbank.com. As I told, Spax Media was inactive, installbank was active, but invalid credentials. Then we actually looked for both of the sites in our internal breach database, which we actually use for alerting users that they have been compromised. Then we found like credential hits for installbank.com. Then we started validating it. And then we actually found admin credentials. That means that the whole campaign of people who ran those websites or affiliates were also compromised. Then parallelly, we also like did some dorking and then like tried to find what this Pax Media was, and then like tried to see if there was any past occurrences of this Pax Media. We found like maybe in Web Archive, we found some of the how it looked, and based on how it looked in Web Archive, we did more Google dorking and then found out that there was the same site was active in a new name called installstera.com. Now, the thing is, they use the same database of spaxmedia.com, so all the credentials which are active or like from long ago are still valid. Now, why did this even go down and was the question, but when we did the Google dorking, we also noticed these domains were mentioned in the, like one of the other threat intelligence vendors report, where SpyCloud. But the thing is, they reported it, I think the law enforcement or maybe the threat actors themselves took it down and then came back up again. Now, for both of them, we got, for installbank.com, we actually got an active PPI cluster and like we got admin access. But for Spax Media, we had multiple credentials, but not an admin access actually. But because of having an admin access, so based on the whole analysis of this Pax Media, right, like we found multiple credentials with, which are basically affiliate panel accesses, but we didn't have any admin access. But the closest to admin access was access of the initial threat actor, like who we actually found from OSINT. Then dozens of payouts per affiliate, like we saw like $50 to $300 per payout. And there were like literally thousands of those kind of payouts. And this Pax Media was active from like mid-2022 and was taken offline after law enforcement action probably. And again, it was relaunched in February 2025 as installstera.com with the same code base and database, which gave us insight on how they operate. And their likely growth channels were Facebook ads, WhatsApp groups, and basically surface web promos where they actually create websites and then do that spam. So, yeah, so this is how the panel looks. If you look at their notices also, they have all these things of Telegram communications, their balance, then they have like a configuration screen actually. If I zoom in, so this is the script which they actually get to paste or basically copy paste the script into their websites, and this actually does the redirection chain for them. So this is all pre-done in their panel, and then they just need to copy paste this into their malicious websites. And that too, if you would have noticed, there is a math.random function which is just to throw off the web crawlers or something like that. Then, yeah, so this is their account settings. Luckily, they had a lot of data collected from the affiliates too, so we know that all these data, which basically gave a brief idea of what their region of like operation was. And we didn't have visibility on how many actual users work for that like main cluster, but we found like more than 100 credentials, or that means that there are more than 100 affiliates for running for this Pax Media. Now, if you think of their payouts, the first thing you might think is all these people get payouts in cryptocurrency, but that is for the people who actually run the website. But the people who are actually getting paid out from this website are actually getting from a website called JustCash. This is like a fintech company from that specific region. If you think, like, if I compare JustCash in Japan, it would be like PayPay or something similar to that. So their payouts are not in cryptocurrency, but which are like very accessible to the law enforcement, such as JustCash. So I told that we got access to the, like, not to an admin, but then almost to the, like, closest to the admin. Their biggest problem also was hard to remember, tend to reuse. Password reuse is a major problem. And that's when we actually got 2 credentials for the same site, and then like reuse, like we did credential stuffing for them, and then like we actually found their access. If you see the translation, basically, this main threat actor is basically asking for a Fortuner, which is basically a car which is very famous across South Asia, I'll say. And then like the comments which are given by the admin is like, why not take 2, do the work and you will get it. So these are like funny comments because the admin was literally related to the main threat actor, and I'd say like she's the mother of the threat actor actually, and then she runs the whole website operations. So it's like a family operation, but yeah, this is something funny which we found. And yeah, the next one is basically installbank.com. I think the time is running up, so I'll try to rush it. This had like, this had a panel, like we had admin access, so we were able to get access to who are the users, how many websites did they actually have in their inventory, and based on what we have analyzed, like they have got like nearly 449 million clicks, which is like really huge, even though in 5 years that amount is really huge. And tracked revenue is 4.67 million US dollars just by spreading malware, and that is tracked. In the backend, there's much more than that. Then basically, most of the thing is retained as profit because they don't pay their affiliates a lot, because the people who run the website retain a lot of profit. And yeah, this is the traffic rise, which is 2020, it was like 25 million clicks. Now in 2024, it was 125 million clicks. And their business model also shifted from install-centric to just traffic-centric. That's like which improved their revenue, I believe. That's why they've moved away from the install-centric. Then basically, they also relied on long-lived sites. If you think of these malicious sites, they tend to be taken down because once people notice it, they get removed by the law enforcement. But then there were long-lived sites which actually got a lot of traffic into them. And then like payouts show they're out of like 5,000 affiliates, only 5% of them got a lot of payouts. So only small affiliate groups actually got a lot of payouts from it. So this was their panel where I've shown the redirects, right? They're able to paste these redirects, and this is their configuration screen, like where they just copy paste domains, which will be used to use as a redirection. And this is one page of that specific website where all these are like malicious sites dating back from 2020. Yeah, so these are basically where the zip files of malwares is stored, and then like this their management page for all these websites. They just copy paste things, or basically they give access to the website and then they do it for everything. Then they do everything. And the main affiliate's job would be to basically spread or do forum spam. And yeah, I think this is basically where they could configure the passwords, and they also had cron jobs to basically get the data from other automations and then like paste it in their databases. And yeah, the conclusion was we traced SEO abuse to like threat actor groups, though we always assumed that traffic groups are like situated in Russia. That was the major, like even the word came from there. But we realized it's not the thing, the same like model or like type of like cybercrime is also done across the world. And yeah, we've also published this article, so feel free to check it out. The funny thing is, after we published the article, we actually got a tip from threat actor's well-wisher. So over LinkedIn once. So I really didn't want my name to be there on that research, but for situation I had to give my name. And then we got a tip from a attacker, like the tractor's well-wisher. He was telling all the assumptions. In a research, we always make a lot of hypotheses, and based on the available data, we make conclusions that the hypothesis is right or not. But because of this step, we actually manually concluded all these hypotheses as true. All the familial relationships between the threat actor groups, they were true. And he was kind of jealous of that threat actor because he was telling they didn't have anything in 2020, and now they have everything. They have villas, bungalows, cars, whatnot. And the bonus point which I wanted to give was, so law enforcement actually got to them like a couple of years back. I'm not going to reveal the country name also, but if you get to bottom of it, you will actually find out which country I'm talking about. So that country, I mean, it's not as developed. I'll say it's a developing country. So their corruption is still there. Because of corruption, the hackers were able to actually pay off the law enforcement and get off. So that's why even though we published this, the sites went down, but the people are still there running around and making the whole cybercrime economy run. Yeah, I think that brings us to the end of it. Defensive strategies, hope it sparked some ideas. So this is basically based on what I've seen, and then what I do, try to find the source of the malware infection to the top. So that's the IR. And treat stealer log appearance as active compromise. We have seen logs staying alive for months and months, or years actually, and the credentials would be still active. And monitor dark web and Telegram stealer sources for your domains. Ideally, if you're in an organization, this would be really hard for you to build it from the scratch. So there are a lot of vendors who actually do it better. Kill chain, basically block known wares or basically SEO clusters. So, and harden browsers and credential hygiene. So, and then also strong MFA and refresh sessions aggressively, because we have noticed that even though your passwords have been rotated, your sessions would be still active. So you need to refresh your sessions aggressively. And yeah, I think international cooperation would be required to actually target that specific payment rails and then do the correct attribution. Yeah, I think that brings me to the ends of it. Runs on delivery network and logs. The whole delivery networks are the economic backbone of this whole cybercrime. Info stealers are the ideal payload for delivering. And yeah, follow the money back and track the origins of it, not just the malware families and how they actually attack a system. Thank you. This is my presentation. Did I do it in time? Okay. Any questions, guys? I actually got some of it, but maybe you can get a mic to her.
I'm doing a quick sound test. Okay, this does work. So let's get this to the young lady in the back.
Yes, so thank you for the presentation. You mentioned some technical guardrails when it comes to prevention, but would you say that, for example, limiting the use of script interpreters, like, for example, PowerShell, to people who just actually do need them in the company for their daily work, do you think that would be
So
a
I'd
good
say,
guardrail?
right, got it. So I'd say corporate system getting compromised is like the probability of corporate system getting compromised is really low. But then what I've noticed based on like a lot of investigations of stealer attacks, what I noticed was their personal systems get compromised where part of their corporate credentials are available in the like personal computer. And let's say even though they are aware of the security and like not installing any of this pirated software or wares, at home, like if they leave their personal computer at home, what I've noticed is kids actually use that and then like they tend to install this pirated software and that's how the whole attack also happens. So this is a major thing which I've seen in India, but probably it might be the same thing across the world too.
Yes, thank you. And it definitely is.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. I have a microphone now. We can hear you. Oh, one from across the hall. I think this will be our last question. Oh, here you go.
Hello. Why protect the identities of the criminals?
I mean, I can give it out, but yeah, they're still running out there. If they're actually arrested, I would give out all the names. But yeah, feel free to like check out the research. Actually, people can like find out what their emails are. All their like you don't even need access to the breach data. You can literally get the names from like literal public information. It's not hidden. So I just want to limit here because this session might be posted on YouTube, but I want that level of privacy for them. So,
The shorter answer is for the safety of the speaker.
Yeah, that's the main thing, yeah. Because they're still running out there, and then that country is like neighboring country of mine, so I don't want to get into anything.
You're getting too specific. You got to be careful, man. Okay. Let's all give another warm round of applause for Pavan. Thank you so much. And I believe it is time for our next presentation.